Hey, everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Soundcraft Studios and brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson's The Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Backed by popular demand, Chicago native graduated from Ohio University, moving back to Chicago with her husband and back to Ohio in 2014, where she's at again. Successful 10-year run in advertising, has a passion for food, food trucks, travel, and more. And she'll talk about her latest travels and her food truck ventures. And of course, she also has some books called Meet Maddie, Best of Trail of Food Diaries, The Columbus Food Truck. And last, we talked about the Ohio ice cream, a scoop of history. And now we're going to get to a new book exploring the history of the Buckeye. And what's up with that? We'll find out just 1 minute. Live, ladies and gentlemen, the place to is somewhere in beautiful downtown Ohio. The amazing Chicago native graduate, now back in Ohio as well, too. And author of the books Meet Maddie, Best of Trail of Food Diaries, and more. The new book, Ohio Buckeye Candy. Ladies and gentlemen, the Buckeye Lady herself, Renee Casteel Cook. Renee, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us once again.
Thanks again for having me, Mike. Always happy to be back.
It's great to have you back. I mean, every time you get on the show, it makes me hungry for some reason. Food trucks, candy, ice cream, and everything like that. So
I can understand that. Writing the books certainly works up an appetite.
And speaking of food trucks, tell us about your latest food truck ventures and where have you been lately ever since we talked last?
Yeah, so just this summer, I was visiting some of the Michigan beach towns in the Grand Haven
Oh,
area
nice.
and came across a little food truck pop up during a market and got to try a number of trucks. We tried a taco truck called Righteous Cuisine. We tried a mac and cheese truck that was
Ooh.
part of the local a food development commission, and then we tried a hot pretzel truck, which was new to me, but
Oh,
really
nice,
fun.
nice. My
Different
favorite.
dippers, yeah, something a crowd pleaser, something everyone can enjoy.
And certainly indeed as well, too. And what's the one food truck have you not encountered?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, as a lead into this book, I don't know of anyone with a Buckeye truck yet. Now, I
Mhm.
do know of a couple of our producers that we highlighted here that have carts. So I think we're making our way. But, eventually, perhaps we will see an entire Buckeye truck. I will say that at the state fair, the Ohio State Fair, which is just wrapping up here in Columbus, Franklin County, they actually do a deep fried Buckeye. And
Oh,
so that comes
wow.
from one of those concession trucks where they're deep frying everything, literally from butter, yes, butter, to Oreos, which I can vouch for that latter one. Um, and of course the deep fried Buckeye. So that's as close as I've gotten to seeing a Buckeye on a truck.
And of course, speaking of Buckeyes and all kinds of treats and everything else, we talked about the Ohio ice cream, a scoop of history, and give us a recap on that. And how's it been doing these days?
Yeah, so Ohio Ice Cream, A Scoop of History came out last May in 2022. This was a super fun one, both to research, of course, lots of taste testing, as well as to go out and promote and share with a variety of communities. That book actually was my first foray into the broader state of Ohio. So I had previously focused on the Columbus metro area with both the Columbus Food Truck Cookbook and bringing that book into the Best of Trailer Food Diaries. We did the spotlight on Columbus alongside Austin, Texas, and Portland, Oregon. And so for Ohio Ice Cream, it was a fun, formidable challenge to actually go outside of Columbus and go, up to Cleveland, down to Cincinnati, but certainly to the smaller towns in between. And we wanted to make sure, the publisher and I, that we didn't just focus on the household brand names. Of course, we wanted to spotlight those that had generational businesses that
hmm
have been in the family for a long time. But we also wanted to incorporate the mom and pop shops, those roadside stands that are open, now for a couple more weeks here.
Uh-huh.
And, then they close down for the winter season, especially here in Ohio, where we do certainly get winter. And I know you do. You get more
hmm
winter even
Well,
than we
I,
do.
I I think a lot of places are about to get winter no matter what. I mean, even that snow in California, it's like, good Lord, they had a blizzard there last year hitting Los Angeles of all places.
You never really know with the weather anymore. We've had a hot, rainy summer here in Ohio, but in between, dodging storms and upwards of 90-degree days, and I won't say anything because I know the South has certainly had much worse than that. We've had fun, with our melting ice cream cones and doing a number of events this summer where we were able to promote the title leading up to Ohio Buckeye Candy's release, which just came out last Monday. So we're very timely here, August 7th.
hmm
And we will now be be promoting that really through the fall football season as well as into the holiday season.
And of course, it's mentioned about the Ohio ice cream truck as well, too. What's your favorite ice cream flavor? Maybe just give a recap on that.
Yeah, so it's actually a perfect segue. As I was doing a lot of my taste testing throughout the state, I had a number of owners tell me that they always try everyone's vanilla, because if you can make a good vanilla, you can usually make a good anything else, because it's such a, it's the base. But for me, and the dedication in that book is actually written to my own mother, who says that we went for ice cream every single day after preschool. I'm not sure about that in the dead of Chicago winters,
I wish
but
my
I do.
folks did that ice cream every single day,
I mean, as a grandmother, I could believe she would do that. As a mother, I don't quite remember it that as way, that she does. But, at least in the dead of winter in Chicago, your ice cream wasn't melting all over you in the car. So maybe we did. In either case, she let me go straight for the hard stuff. And I was always a chocolate lover over vanilla. So as I did my research, I actually looked for everyone's version of chocolate peanut butter,
Hmm.
hence the Buckeye. And so, a lot of shops will do a peanut butter base with like maybe a chocolate chip or a chocolate chunk in there, whereas other shops will do a chocolate base and they'll run ribbons of peanut butter through it. Then
Mhm.
you've got some other varieties where they'll add in brownies, or they'll add in Reese's, small, tiny, what look like Reese's peanut butter cups. So my kind of barometer has always been the chocolate peanut butter, which lended itself quite well to then writing a book about the Buckeye itself.
And of course, we'll talk more about the Ohio Buckeye as well, too. And of course, once again, which city in Ohio has the best ice cream?
Oh, well, Cincinnati is home to Graders, which has been around for many generations now. But Columbus is home to Jenny's, which is a more modern maker. So it depends on what you're in the mood for, right? And then, like I said, you've got your mom and pop shops. So, say you're looking for a soft serve. I really love Little Ladies here, also in the Columbus area. And in fact, the owner's sister owns King Cone up in the Cleveland metro Chardon area.
Mm.
So, you can't go wrong. I think you can really pick any city and find tasty ice cream here in Ohio.
And certainly do as well as Buckeyes. Which city has the best Buckeyes? Which are featured in the Buckeyes? And what is the Ohio Buckeye? We'll find out just 1 minute with author Renee Casteel Cook. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by SonicWeb Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@SonicWebStudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews. And Eva Love enjoys by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes, Riley, and else. So grab your copy today for Girls Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, or 40 podcast platforms, heard in 100 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Speaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, also on Odyssey, Pandora, Buzzsprout, TuneIn, and more. Make sure you take the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device and subscribe to us on YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, and more. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast, t-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies. Makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia for great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles. Also t-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more. Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia, and support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. We're here, Chicago native, graduated from Ohio University and moving back to Chicago with her husband and back to Ohio in the Buckeye State in 2014. Renee Casteel Cook here on the Mike Wagner Show. And well, speaking of Buckeye State, and she's got the new book called Ohio Buckeye Candy. And tell us more about the book.
Yeah, so this is a really fun one. Upon initial conversations, the publisher and I said, isn't a Buckeye just a Buckeye, just a Buckeye? And for those unfamiliar, the Buckeye itself is actually a useless, potentially poisonous nut. and it falls off a tree, as you would kind of assume. And there are a variety of species of them, but the Ohio Buckeye is obviously the one most indigenous to our area. There's actually a California Buckeye. I forget what the others are, but the nut is the same. It falls off and it kind of looks like a chestnut, but it very much looks like the candy you see here on the cover. And so it's got a darker outer area, and then sort of the innermost part is this lighter tan color. They fall kind of all over the place, frankly, in the fall months. So we're getting ready for Buckeye season here. And since they are inedible, people have taken to using them for things like jewelry making, crafting, really to support the Ohio State Buckeye football team and other of the Ohio State University sporting teams. So the legend of the candy itself goes back to the mid 60s, not all that long ago, when a woman who was engaged to be married to an Ohio State graduate student, she was actually from Oklahoma, and her
Mm.
mother had sent her a peanut butter ball fully
Huh.
enrobed in chocolate as a Christmas candy. And they devoured them. They loved them, and the flavor was so wonderful. And she said, "Mom, can I have the recipe so that I can make these, for friends and family up here?" And so she did, but when she was dipping them, so you use a toothpick to dip it into the chocolate coating. And when she did that, she dipped it about 3/4 of the way, and she sort of pulled it up and looked at her husband and said, "Doesn't this look like a Buckeye?" And he said, "Yeah, in fact, it does." And so, almost accidentally, this new take on the confection was born. She began bringing it to tailgates and parties, and friends in the area took immediately to this classic combination. We all know a Reese's. And so you've got peanut butter and chocolate having worked together for a really long time, but this is sort of in a new format. I won't call it quite a truffle. We've got one producer in the book that makes truffles, and they do a Buckeye that is quite distinct, but it's got this creamy peanut butter center,
Mhm.
and it's got a nice crackly chocolate coating around it. So Miss Gail Tabor Lucas is her name, and she ends up moving to Arizona. And so one of the classmates begs her to give them the recipe, and she says, "No, no, no, I just couldn't." And then finally, right before she's about to leave in early 1971, she says, "Okay, I'll give you the recipe as long as you are positive you won't share it with anyone else. You have to promise." So, of course, this woman promises. And then somewhere around 1973, the second woman, she actually submits it to the Ohio State Alumni Magazine under her own name. So now
Oh,
we've got a
no.
controversy brewing. And Miss Gail Tabor Lucas hasn't come back to Columbus in a number of years. Well, she gets back in the early 80s, 1983. And friends are telling her, "Oh, yeah, this has been printed in the Ohio State Alumni Magazine." And, she's not too happy. Turns out she's a reporter by trade, and she's writing for the Arizona Republic. So she writes her story and publishes it in the newspaper, reclaiming the origination of the Buckeye and printing her original recipe, which we share in Ohio Buckeye Candy, A Sweet History. And so from then on, the ownership has gone back to its rightful origin, and we're all very pleased and proud that she was able to reinstate that.
And certainly as well too. We talked about the Buckeye Lady. There'll be more on that if you want to. And of course, it ranges thing like in Amish country. And of course, you got Wittich's Candy, which is run by a fifth generation, and also you got Winans, or is it Winans? Going from carriage house, chocolate turned coffee roaster, and of course, you got your smaller ones like Esther Price, Marie's Candies, and Marsha's homemade Buckeyes, and of course, you got some newcomers as well too.
Yeah, so much like Ohio ice cream, we really try to cover both your big name producers, those that are household brands, Anthony Thomas being top of mind. They're actually the official Buckeye candy of the Ohio State University. And so if you're on campus there, you're in a gift shop, or you're receiving a basket from the university, you'll be getting an Anthony Thomas Buckeye. They are a multi-family, they're on their fourth generation. And they actually, I'm sorry, third generation, they take a different approach. So theirs is more of what I would call a candy Buckeye, where they're coating the whole thing in chocolate and then actually putting a little cap on it that is colored and flavored to look and taste like peanut butter. The reason they do that is they need to be able to package theirs to be shelf stable for the university. So the
Mm.
funny part of the Anthony Thomas story around Buckeyes is that they've been making candy for a long time. And they are very famous for a lot of different confections in the area, but they had an inner kind of family struggle as to whether or not they wanted to make a Buckeye. And originally they were saying, "No, no, no, people just make those at home. They don't want those from us." And so it turns out that, latter generation kind of won that battle, went ahead and made a Buckeye that was specific to their operation, and they were able to produce the quantity that Ohio State needed. They've actually been on QVC with their Buckeyes. They sold out completely 2 holidays in a row. You can
Wow.
find them on Amazon. So if you go to order the book and you want to get some treats to sample alongside, you can order your Anthony Thomas Buckeyes right there. And then, you've got as you mentioned, Coblentz Chocolate. They're in the heart of Ohio's Amish country, and they are kind of a tried and true producer of a very traditional Buckeye. They offer different varieties in terms of milk and dark chocolate, but you're going to get a really classic product there. And a lovely time to visit them is during the holiday open house, when the entire town is decorated and really welcoming to, they're always welcoming to guests, of course, at the chocolate shop, but everything is just centered around visitors during that time period. So I'm hoping to be there this holiday season and get to enjoy some of that magic. And then on a more modern side of things, you've got the Buckeye Lady, which is local to me here in the Clintonville neighborhood of Columbus. She's actually just about 2 blocks away. And she has been in business since the COVID-19 pandemic. She
Wow.
actually began selling her Buckeyes to help some of her service industry friends that were out of work during the early days of the pandemic. She wanted to support them financially. So she began selling her Buckeyes, and it went crazy over social media. But she knew she needed a point of differentiation. And she was talking to her mother one day, and she said, Mom, I could continue to sell Buckeyes, but they're not different than a lot of other people's Buckeyes. Why should people buy mine? And so her mom actually had the idea. She gives her all the credit to stuff the Buckeye. And the
Hmm.
first thing they stuffed the Buckeye with was a couple of M&Ms. And they put one
You
single
like that?
M&M on
Now
the
you're making
top.
me hungry.
Yes. And so from there, she expanded and quite literally exploded these Buckeyes to 80 varieties. Featured on the cover of Ohio Buckeye Candy, we've got the red velvet. And so you can see the cross section there, where inside of the Buckeye itself,
Okay, a bit more closer here.
yeah, inside of that peanut butter coating, or that peanut butter center, is a red velvet cake. And this is just
Mm.
one example of kind of the inventive creations. They have a cold brew espresso cream. At the holidays, they do a peppermint candy cane. I just recently saw a seasonal orange dreamsicle. So pretty much anything you can dream up. In fact, they actually last year played around with a savory Buckeye, which I haven't
Nice.
seen many others do. And they did an everything bagel Buckeye.
Oh,
So
my
you,
favorite,
yeah.
everything bagel.
Yes, and so similar to our friend Jenny's Splendid Ice Creams in Ohio Ice Cream, who did an everything bagel ice cream. Now that flavor was very polarizing. You either loved it, or hated it, hated it, hated it. Whereas, the Buckeye I think was a little bit more neutral. Some people found it curious, but the mouthfeel tended to work kind of like a cream cheese would, with those spices. And so you might have gotten a hit of the onion or a sesame or a poppy seed in there. But that was just a fun one because you don't often see a savory take on a Buckeye.
And of course too, Buckeyes, can be consumed in a number of ways, but it looks like it can also be done with jewelry as well too. And if I'm correct, I see your earrings. Are those Buckeye earrings?
They are. So a friend of my almost 8-year-old daughter, and I'll have to spotlight her handiwork on the bracelet, has created these for me. She actually made me a set of ice cream cones for Ohio ice cream. And so I commissioned her. Haven't paid her yet. I did give her a copy of the book, a signed, autographed, personalized copy of the book. So that was her payment, I suppose. But she made them on a rainbow loom. And I think she's got a little potential business going here. I believe
Nice.
they are a labor of love. They are painstaking work because getting that shape down is a little difficult. But yes, I had to have new jewels for the promotion of this title.
I was just going to ask you, where can they get the jewelry like that? I think you're about to start a firestorm, especially with the holidays coming up.
I agree. And it depends on how fast an 8-year-old's production can keep up. She might have to hire a team. She's got 3 younger brothers who are triplets. So I think if she can train them, perhaps she can have a little factory going.
Well, by the way, if anybody's looking for work, and especially in this economy, you can help make Buckeye jewelry. So keep that in mind, everybody. If you're looking for work, you can make some Buckeye jewelry, come to Ohio and just make some great money and enjoy some Buckeyes. So you can do that. So
Anytime. Yeah, definitely.
and of course, speaking of new businesses, you got plenty of newcomers that that come into play with the Ohio Buckeye as well too. Got the Buckeye Company, you got what was it, Tammy's Tasty Treats, if I'm right, and you got locally artisan chocolates. That
Yeah,
sounds
so
good.
locally was one I just mentioned, and they are a artisan chocolatier. They produce truffles, and so I'm going to zoom in again if I can move over the right direction on their version of a Buckeye, which is a truffle style.
Oh wow.
Still retains its peanut butter center, but do you see the beautiful kind of decorative work on the shell there? And so
Mhm.
they released their Buckeyes only for the fall season. In fact, they just came out this past week. I visited their shop this weekend. And they do that scarlet and gray coloring specific to the Ohio State University Buckeye football team. And so they've got one that's a milk chocolate with kind of more of a white and scarlet spattering, and then they've got that white chocolate that has the gray and scarlet. And so either way, you get a really visual thing going. They also actually have year-round two different takes on a chocolate peanut butter combination that is not a Buckeye because it is fully closed up, but it is a dark chocolate crunchy peanut butter or a
Oh,
milk
yum.
chocolate creamy peanut butter. So we were able to sample all of those this past weekend at the launch of their seasonal Buckeye, and that was certainly fun. And I like the combination in general. It's my go-to for everything from ice cream to oatmeal. So depending on how indulgent I'm feeling, I can still get my chocolate peanut butter fix.
Mm.
So I was a big fan of all of those options.
Mhm. And also from your research, your perspective and everything, which city produces the best Buckeye?
Well, I have to give the best Buckeye credit, which follows suit of the dedication on this book, to my mother-in-law, Jane Cook. She, for many, many years, led the effort on the Buckeye production at her church, which is St. Andrew Church here in Upper Arlington, Columbus, Ohio. They would produce, on average, 5,000 Buckeyes for a one-day church bazaar that typically happens in mid-November. They would package them by the dozen, and they would sell out so quickly that in the last couple of years that she was doing it, they actually offered pre-ordering because
Wow.
people were, getting concerned that they weren't going to get their hands on their Buckeyes. She is very specific as to both the type of peanut butter she will use. I believe also the type of chocolate. So they would take donations in the months leading up. They would have this big area in the vestibule of the church where people could bring in a jar of the peanut butter or a bag of the chocolate. And then the women on her team would get together, and she had a little army, and they would make these Buckeyes. They would roll the peanut butter centers, and then they'd have a different station dipping them. And her big thing is that you have to close the hole. So this is another debate. And we'll look at the cover again to see that one of our featured shops, let's see how close we can get. Yeah, we've got it captured. This is actually Bellbrook Chocolate Company, and they used to be in Bellbrook. They're now in Centerville, Ohio, but they kept the name because it had been established for a long time. They specifically do not close the hole because they want you to know that they are handmade. My
Oh,
mother-in-law, on the
got it.
other hand, is a bit of a perfectionist and wants you to close that hole to make them as pretty as
Hmm.
possible.
What's
So
what's the difference between having a hole and not having a hole?
So from a taste perspective, I don't think there really could be one. But it's really just a presentation, a person's particular preference. And so if you want to take a gloved finger or however, depending on who you're making them for, if you're making them for your family, don't worry about the gloves. But if you're making them for a group like a church bazaar, you're obviously going to do the sanitary and the things you need to
Hmm.
do for food
Right, yeah.
safety. But yeah,
Especially
you
doing
can just
50,000 of them things, yes.
you can just kind of cover that little hole up, and then they look a little bit more like the nut, because obviously the nut doesn't have a hole when it comes off the tree. So I have a giant Buckeye tree in my backyard. If anyone needs to know what one looks like, you can come visit in a couple of weeks, because they fall off in a shell, and the shell needs to crack open, and a lot of times just falling off the tree will cause the shell to crack open. But
Hmm.
if it doesn't, you can actually lightly step on them, and that will cause the shell to come apart, and you can kind of peel it, and you'll see like a little dot of where maybe the stem was, but for the most part they're pretty clean, the Buckeye itself, that little lighter tan color. So my mother-in-law prefers them to look that way, and it,
Mm.
it really just depends. Some people also debate whether or not this candy is a one biter. I think that for many and for many who prefer to make them on the smaller side, it certainly can be. I've always liked to savor mine, so I try to get 2 bites out of it,
That's a
especially with
good
something like the
idea.
Buckeye Lady, because you want that cross section, you wanna see what's in there. And then we had some, producers actually making giant Buckeyes. So
Wow.
the Buckeye Company has something called a bursting Buckeye, and it could be considered similar to what the Buckeye Lady's doing, but they're in different markets and they came about sort of at different times. But they're stuffing theirs so that it gets larger and larger. And in fact, Stella Leona, which is no longer in business, but we interviewed them for the book because they were a piece of his Buckeye history. They did something called Not Your Grandma's Buckeye. And my mother-in-law is a grandma because I've got 3 little girls who are being trained in the art of the Buckeye making. But Stella Leona used to do a giant Buckeye, like 3 times the size of what you'd consider a normal Buckeye. And that was more for sharing purposes. And, some people would even take a knife and a fork to that one. So
Mm.
again, I don't think the taste is going to change if you take 1 bite or 3. But it's just a personal preference.
Mhm. And of course, speaking of Buckeyes and everything else, and your love for ice cream, what are the chances of Buckeye becoming part of the ice cream line, or maybe Buckeye ice cream?
So funny enough, we've got a couple of a sidebar dedicated to a couple of producers that are doing inspired Buckeye creations. We've got Little Ladies, who is also featured in Ohio ice cream. They do a sundae that they also turned into a pie called the Aggie, and it features mini Buckeyes, peanut butter sauce, chocolate sauce, all topped with whipped cream. And it's just really a beautiful creation. And we've got the color insert in the book here. And so I'm going to find you some beauty shots of that. So you've got Little Ladies. I can't go the right
Let's see.
way.
Oh, this way,
There we
this way.
go.
Okay, I see
So
it
we've got
now.
Little Ladies on the
Hmm.
Aggie, and then there's the Aggie pie. That's quite the cross section
Oh,
there.
wow. Okay.
And then another Ohio ice cream feature that made it over into Ohio Buckeye is Johnson's Real Ice Cream. And they actually are making a Buckeye, here we are, a Buckeye candy or a Buckeye ice cream that looks like the candy. So these are little Buckeye bites, but those are completely ice cream. That is peanut butter ice cream rolled and hardened and then dipped in a chocolate shell there at
Wow.
Johnson's. And so, if you need a cooler take on the candy, you have to keep those in the freezer, but they are quite tasty. So yeah,
Hmm.
there's certainly crossover. We also highlight some folks that are doing Buckeye variations on a waffle. So speaking back to food trucks, we've got Winston's, which is a waffle truck. They actually feature liege style waffles. So they're kind of the pearl sugar and a little bit of a thicker cut. And they started doing a Buckeye waffle. This is a great photo that I love here.
Oh, nice,
Yep, I'm
nice.
gonna
That
make
looks
you even
tasty.
hungrier there, Mike. And so they've got both a truck and then sort of a brick and mortar stall location at the East Market in Columbus. And then we've got I don't know if that one has a picture, but oh yeah, they have a black and white. Dulce Nola, which is a granola company,
Mm.
and they are doing this is just a little tiny one, tougher to see. But they are doing a Buckeye granola. And so
Oh,
really,
nice.
this combination can be featured in so many variations, and everyone in the state loves it so much that they take full advantage of being able to do that.
Mm.
The last one that I have to share is the Buckeye pizza. And
Oh,
this
Buckeye pizza.
thankfully
Oh
is
my God.
not
I think you just hit it right there. Hit the nail on the head.
so that is not a savory option. That is a sweet, sweet pizza. And it is made at Sweeties Chocolates, which is part of Grandpa's Cheese Barn. So you can go get some savory items first. But once you leave Grandpa's and you've got your cheese, and they also specialize in artisan charcuterie type meats, you can get your cheese and your meats over at Grandpa's, walk right across the parking lot to Sweeties, and you can indulge yourself in all your desserts, including the Buckeye pizza.
Nice. I think that'd be my idea for my birthday cake or birthday treat is the Buckeye pizza. I
Well,
gotta remember
speaking of
that.
cakes, you've got on the back cover here my favorite cake from the Goodie Shop in Upper Arlington, which is part of Columbus as well. And that is 4 little Buckeyes made to look like the OHIO for the Ohio State University Buckeyes, but that's on top of a cake. So happy birthday to you there, Mike.
Thank you. Well, that'll be coming up as well, too. And of course, you can find me on Facebook. Wish me happy birthday. Give me a slice of your Buckeye cake as well, too. I'll be glad to take it. So, in the meantime, where can we find the Ohio Buckeye Candy book out along with your other books, Renee?
Yeah, so all the usual suspects, our friends at Amazon, Target, and Barnes and Noble are kind enough to continue to carry all of my titles. And then we really like to support our independent bookstores. And so here, local to Columbus, I'm great friends with the folks at the Book Loft, Prologue, and Gramercy Books, as well as a local gift shop called Pure Roots in Westerville. So you can definitely visit all of them or visit their online presence, and they'll be happy to ship to you. They all actually have signed copies, which I love to be able to share with people. So if you want a little extra, no extra charge, they've got autographed copies that you can get your hands on. And then my website is just reneecasteelcook.com, and you can always find me and my books and all my information there.
And throw in a few Buckeyes as well, too. So thanks for
Always.
visiting. We're here with author Renee Casteel Cook of her latest book, Ohio Buckeye Candy, here on the Mike Wagner Show. Just more and more thing. What else can we expect from you in 2023 and beyond?
Yeah, so my girls are really pining for a return of Maddie, and so she is my children's book. We might take a small hiatus from the food focus and the culinary history travel titles to see if we can do a reprise and get Maddie some siblings. That is the goal. I'm working on a new illustrator for that series, potentially turning that into a series with a new illustrator. So we'll have to stay tuned.
And of course, give Maddie some Buckeyes as well, too.
Well, that would be fun. Yeah, I think that would be appropriate.
That'd be great as well, too. So once again, we're with author Renee Casteel Cook of Ohio Buckeye Candy here on the Mike Wagner Show. Renee, a very big thank you for your time. It's always great to have you on. Looking forward to having soon. Keep us up to date. Keep us hungry. Keep us hungry and everything else with ice cream, food, and more. Once again, what's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your books?
Yeah, just www.reneecasteelcook.com. Feel free to reach out via the contact form if you need any information from me or have any questions or any anecdotes to share. The thing I find most interesting about the Buckeye candy is it doesn't travel very far outside of Ohio unless someone specifically takes it there to share with family and friends. As you've mentioned a few times, I'm from Chicago, and I didn't actually know what a Buckeye candy was until I came to Ohio University, at 19, met my then boyfriend, now husband, and of course my mother-in-law, the prolific Buckeye baker. So I certainly hope that this book inspires people to share the story of the Buckeye candy and its deliciousness, much broader than Ohio or even the Midwest. And I hope we can get Buckeye books and Buckeye candies into the hands of many people throughout the country.
Well, certainly looking forward to that as well. Once again, Renee, always a big thank you for your time and always great to have you on. Looking forward to having you soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Keep us hungry. Love to have you back. Wish all the best. And Renee, you definitely have a great future ahead of you.
Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate it again.